Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I am about to embark on a project and thought I would share it with you, and we will see together how this goes. It may be a really dumb idea, but a while back I bought out another artist who had a lot of this glass. I'm sure this is from a light vanilla and French vanilla and light turquoise blue infusion sheet. This infusion sheet where it's a pour down the middle. There's also this kind, which is a cascade. But I think that based on the color patterns and what I'm seeing here, I think it was more of an infusion right down the middle. And I'm not a huge fan of these. I've bought some of this before, and I think it could look really cool as big pieces. But once you start to cut this up, you end up with a whole bunch of just French vanilla on the sides. And this fires and reacts so dark. It's arty and it's cool, but once you start having little scraps like this, it's kind of hard to work with, I think. This is just my opinion. So what I had decided to do, this is all the scrap that I ended up with from her. And there aren't a lot of pieces that are super big to do much with. And so I have collected it in here, kind of captured it all together. And I am going to, even though this is light turquoise in here, I also have a bunch of light aquamarine that is, real close in the color family. It's going to react with the French vanilla and turn brown, just like the other blue that's in here. So I have a bunch of cutoffs and scraps. So I'm going to clean all of this up, and I'm going to put it into my stainless steel basket, and I'm going to heat it and then plunge it in cold water. And I'm going to turn this into one big, massive Frit mix with the idea that then I will create some pieces out of that, and I'm going to get some funky reactions and all of that. I love how French vanilla reacts with itself, and so I think busting this up and getting this into smaller pieces and mixing it all up is going to give me some really interesting look. In addition to this, I also had some French vanilla pieces that I did that didn't turn out. This was a herringbone pattern, but see, I got kind of a bubble in here. And so this was a piece that was ruined. This is French vanilla and clear. Same here, French vanilla and clear. I tried something that didn't work out. So these are just, 6mm pieces of glass. I'm also going to cut these up and also fritize. That's not a word, but I'm going to make frit out of those as well. And I may end up mixing it all in here. I may add a little bit more blue, but I'm going to get started, start cutting this up, cleaning it up, cutting it up, putting into the baskets, and getting ready to turn this into frit. And so I'll show you a little bit of that process as we go. Okay, I'm outside. It is a brisk 39 degrees. So I have my glass that was quenched yesterday in the cold water, and now I am going to bust it up. So the last time I did this, I used a canvas bag, which worked actually fairly well. However, the seam on the bag was kind of weak and needs to be resewn. So today I'm just going to use some of this paper. I'm going to pour the glass into the middle of my paper. I am going to just, kind of crush it up almost just with my hands or with a little bit of a, mallet action, just to kind of break it up into smaller chunks. Then I'm going to go through the process of sifting it and sorting it by size. And so I'll be out here for a little while, I think. I don't know that I'll film the whole thing, but I just wanted you to understand what that process is. Now, there have been some in my prior video about doing this that questioned some of my method and some of my safety. As I always say, I'm a learner, I'm learning, you can learn along with me, and you can do it your own way. And if you've got a better idea, then go for it. There was some concern around my plastic bucket. I don't touch the sides of the bucket at all. I fully suspend the metal within the water. The water cools it off extremely quickly, and the water doesn't get too hot. So somebody said I would use a metal bucket. I don't think you need to. I mean, not in my case. It's a large 5-gallon bucket that is more than halfway filled with cold water. I refresh the water every time I do it so that it's cold. And when I'm done, the water is about the temperature of bath water, frankly, a little bit less. So plastic bucket isn't a concern for me. I do wear gloves and I wear safety goggles, but even then I've got this long pole with a long hook. I'm not concerned at all about the heat. So you do what makes you comfortable, but that's what I'm doing. Okay, enough about that. Now to get to work. Well, I've realized a couple of things. One, this camera is probably bouncing all over the place as I smack the table, so I'll go back and watch this video, but it was probably relatively useless. I still have some large chunks in here, so the other thing I realized is I thought this glass was all dry, but it's not. It's still kind of wet from last night. So I don't want to try to sort it because I'm not going to really get much done doing it now while it's wet. So I think I'm going to take a pause on this, finish breaking up the rest of my glass at some point once it is drier. I do want to show you something though. This is that 6mm glass, so it was French vanilla and clear, and I wondered how this would do, and it's just fine. So super crumbly, easy to break up as well. I didn't know if the 6mm would be different, but just want to show you that it's really not. It's still very easy to break up. So I will process all of this. You don't need to watch all of that, but next step of the video, we're going to use this right here. All right, I thought I would just show you the yield from my exercise out there. So I got everything crushed up. It didn't take much. It's just bang it a little bit with a hammer. And when you do that, you're going to sometimes get larger chunks. I mean, you can always break those down a little bit more. These are fine size for me. I don't mind those. You can also get, you know, what looks more like coarse Frit. I used my Frit sifters. This is a set. I think a lot of retailers sell them. I have mine on Amazon in my Amazon store if you want to go check it out. About the same price, I think, that you can find them about anywhere else online. And as always, if you order from Amazon, I do get a small commission, so thank you for keeping my YouTube videos free. Okay, so I did sift them. I did not sift out for powder, so this is the 3 that I sifted for. There's a 4th one that you can sift powder. So what I did was I kept then the large coarse pieces, and then, you know, this is like extra coarse. Then this is probably somewhere between coarse and medium. This is somewhere between, this is probably more like a medium. And then this is the fine, and there's some powder mixed in there as well. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this little stuff. I'd probably just fill it in a casting mold, you know, paws or hearts or something like that. This will probably largely turn brown because remember it's French vanilla and it's got this aquamarine in there, so it's going to react. So it'll probably just become mostly brown. You might still see more separation in larger pieces like that, but it, you know, something to do with it, you know, in terms of using it up in a casting mold. Now let me show you, here are the pieces that were the finished, the platters that didn't turn out. So remember, this was French vanilla with clear on top. And so again, large coarse bits. Some are more like normal coarse size. There's a lot of extra large bits. Again, that size doesn't bother me because I'm going to use this mostly for castings or for the project I'm about to show you. And then same thing, I've got, you know, some coarse Frit, some more like medium, and then some fine and powder mixed together. This won't look like true French vanilla powder because it's got some clear in there, and again, probably decent for casting. I don't know that I would use any of this powder for something that powder really matters for me. If I really need a super fine, you know, powder, then I'm probably gonna, you know, continue to use the bullseye powder. Here's the white. This was white Tecta. Tecta scraps, crushed it up. Same you know, 3 bits there. This is great for castings, and I have been doing more and more white Christmas trees using that CPI mold. I've got some videos on that, so this will be perfect for that. So this is the results of my frit making. Lots of stuff to play with and work with here, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the vanilla and aquamarine next. All right, so I've got a piece of kiln paper on the shelf here, and this is a breakaway mold that I got from Delphi. So it's a stainless steel square mold, and because it's a breakaway mold, meaning all you have to do is take this clip off and see how that opens up so you can release your glass from it. So you don't have to use fiber paper to line it or shelf paper to line it. You can just spray it with zip, which is what I've done here. So I'm going to put this clip back on. I can do this the right way, one-handed. So you can spray it with zip. It should release relatively clean. This is the first time I've ever used this. I got this from Delphi. I'll include, I don't know where else sells it, but I got it from Delphi. So I'll include this link in the video notes, as I often do for my suppliers. So if you're interested in checking it out, they had some round ones, a smaller, I think 8-inch square. This is the 12-inch square. So what I plan to do is I'm going to do a casting in here and create a platter using that French vanilla and aquamarine. So all I'm going to do is really kind of start to load it up in here. I think I'm going to pile it relatively high in the middle and do a long hold at my top temperature so it spreads out and runs a little bit. So let me go ahead and start to set that up. Okay, I've used the French vanilla and clear chunks to create something of a base layer. There's a lot of gap in here yet, but I want it to kind of flow a little bit and maybe fill out. I'm going to take the rest of my blend and pile it right up in the middle, so I'll do that next. I have no idea what I'm doing, but that's why I say it's a learning journey and you're going to learn along with me. So I have now piled up a whole ton of this mixture. You can see how tall it is up over the mold here, but my intention is to have that, you know, ooze and spread and kind of go out to all of the edges, all 4 corners of this mold. So will it work? I don't know. We shall see. My goal here is to fire it long enough that it kind of gets even all the way across. It may be thicker than 6 millimeters, but I want it to even out all the way across and touch all the edges and not have any holes or gaps. I'm not very confident, but we'll see what happens. So I'm going to fire it. I'll decide what my schedule is, but probably up to about, I'll go pretty warm, like 1480, and I may hold it for like a full hour or something just to let this all spread out. So I'll decide what that schedule is. As always, I posted in the video notes on YouTube. So if you want to know the specifics, you got to go to YouTube and find it there. All right, because I like to experiment, and I know you like to see those experiments, I decided I had some room in the kiln, so I have a little heart mold. So I put some of that fine powdery frit mix in here, and then the kind of more medium to coarse, and then the coarse, and I topped it with some of the chunky clear frit that I made in the last frit making video. So I'm going to go ahead and just fire these along with it, because I am interested to see how much reaction happens in these blends. Like I said, I'm guessing this smallest size, almost powdery to fine, is probably going to turn largely brown, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what happens. Well, friends, this may be where our story ends. I don't know. I may film another segment in a little bit. This is too hot to take out yet, but you know, this glass is reactive and it just turns brown. Blech. So I don't love this. Once I pull it out and hold it up to the light, I'll see if I feel any differently about it. It did not get all the way to the 4 corners as I had hoped. It got pretty darn close. I just needed a little bit more glass. And the funny thing is, I had more glass. Let me show you. I had about that much more that I contemplated adding, and truly that may have been enough to get me there. But I didn't add it, and here we are. So, couple of thoughts. I just don't know that I want to invest any more serious kiln time in this. This is the year 2024. I'm saying this out loud. I'd like to try to understand how to do drops a little bit better, and specifically then cutting off and finishing the rims. So I may save this and just use this as some sort of drop experiment piece may look really cool as a drop once it stretches out. So that's a possibility. It's awfully big, so I don't know if I'll use that for that or not. You might want to see how this thing releases. I've not done this before, but let's just lift up on this. And hopefully I had this sprayed well enough with zip. I'm doing this one-handed. Yep, that part comes off okay. That seems to separate no problem. Same there and same on the other side. So I'm very carefully here try to, I can't see what I'm doing. I'm trying to watch it through the video, see what I'm doing here. There you go. That lifted off fairly cleanly. Looks like I took some of the zip off. That's not a surprise. And yeah, the edge isn't too bad. All right, so a couple more final thoughts. The edge is cleaned up really nice, so I'm not sure if the camera's going to adjust accordingly, but these are really nice, clean edges here, so I am really pleased with that mold and just a little bit of zip. It released very cleanly. The oh, you know, the other thing I think was interesting, hardly any spalling. Now, that's only the first time I fired it, but firing it for that hot and then cooled down, I would have expected there to be spalling, and I didn't honestly detect any. So we'll see how long that mold holds up that way, but that was interesting as well. This is very heavy. It's very thick. I've already measured it. It's about 12 millimeters thick, so still a very thick piece. And there is virtually no light that comes through it. I've got my light table on here, and you're not really seeing anything come through. However, on the back, I think that pattern is really cool because of the way it started to spread and stretch. So that's kind of an interesting background. So my intent is to use this, I think, to do some sort of drop vessel practice. I have not done a lot of drop vessels. As a matter of fact, I've done one. But I need a lot of practice in setting them up, doing the drop, cutting off the rim, polishing the rim, and so this glass won't go to waste because I think that this could make kind of an interesting looking drop piece. So that's that. And then on these hearts, as I expected, I turned that off maybe. As I expected, this one is pretty brown. There's some speckles in there of the French vanilla, but this is the smallest frit, and you know, got nearly a full reaction and turned mostly brown. This one had a little bit larger frit and has some color that still comes through, and then this one had the largest pieces and still had further color that came through. So let me see if I can set this up for you to see those. There you go. You can kind of, that's really zoomed in, isn't it? But there you go. You can kind of see, you know, how those had a little bit, the larger the frit, the more color that you had come through. So that's it. Here's what I've learned. I learned that I like that mold. I'm gonna do that some more. I learned to trust my instinct that it wasn't enough glass to get all the way to the edges. Even though it's twice as thick in the middle at 12 millimeters, it was not, if I wanted to just let that thing bake and bake and bake, it may have made it out there to the edges. I have devitrification that started to happen on the French vanilla. But another takeaway is kind of trust your instinct. I was pretty sure that this would turn out to be mostly brown, and I was right, and it's kind of ugly, but I'm still going to use it. We have a pattern, or excuse me, a use for it. Hope you learned something too. Take care. Make sure you subscribe and follow me over on Facebook. There's stuff that happens on Facebook that doesn't happen here on YouTube, so make sure that you're not missing out over there. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.